Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You could all please take your seats. And welcome. Welcome to this afternoon session. I trust you've all had a good lunch. This is the finished vehicle logistics session focused on digitally driven ecosystems. Just so you know, in the other three rooms that we have, the ideas running in parallel to this, we have one on packaging innovation, aftermarket logistics complexity, and supply chain resilience. So this session is focused, as I said, on finished vehicle logistics, and we'll be looking at the finished vehicle logistics sector's evolution towards a connected, smart, highly efficient, integrated ecosystem that's fully transparent to all the players. And we'll be looking at what the requirements are and the right approach to integrating leading-edge technologies and, of course, the revamp of the processes there. So we've got a good panel here that we've organised that will be covering some of the developments that they've been working on and maybe a collaborative project as well that has been formulated as well. So we have Veronika from T-Systems. We have Torsten from Ford and Hartmut from Inform. So without any further ado, I would like to invite Veronika to come up on stage and deliver the first presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Neemish. Thank you, Neemish, and thank you for inviting me the second time. Good afternoon, everybody. So, digitally driven ecosystem, sitting here a little ecosystem in front of you. So what happened and what came out of the conference for us and for this little ecosystem in the conference last year? Quite important results because we came out with a very important idea. And this is why, in some way, it turned like from a car nearly into an airplane, because we came across the idea that how we can solve the problem of visibility in finished vehicle logistics. And talking to Hartmut and showing some hardware, we talked about this OBD2 adapter that we launched last year as a solution for the aftermarket for vehicles last year. And okay, so the idea was, okay, we can use this to check the cars just coming out of production, because some cars today, they don't have the capability, they are not trackable, and they don't have the connectivity. They have maybe today an e-card for the e-call, the connectivity inside, but it can't be used maybe right now for telematics in logistics use cases. So we are now a little ecosystem since last year, and this is the case. We further analyzed how we can work together, and we analyzed, okay, the scope of data that we can transmit. Of course, there's a SIM card in this solution, and we have done already the first POCs with several OEMs. So today we can say it works, and everybody is quite happy with the solution, using it for visibility tracking in the finished vehicle logistics supply chain. So what is behind all this? Of course, it's a lot about giving the capability of connectivity to the cars when they come out of production. This is, in this case, just plugging in this adapter to the cars. Of course, it's all about telecommunication infrastructure available to transmit the data. It's really a good and fantastic example of Internet of Things for telecom, because cars are really big things, important things, expensive things. And these little adapters are also part of Internet of Things ecosystems. So bringing these kind of hardware together, these are really huge use cases for telecommunication companies in the field of Internet of Things. because it enables real-time communications for the stakeholders like you in the logistics sector, and even for the people who bought the car and are waiting for the car, in some cases for several months. And of course, all this connectivity is also enabling things like autonomous driving. You know, the cars have so many sensors installed, and it's just about connectivity and really high-speed connectivity and low latency. And this will be something that we will see in the near future with the 5G telecommunications technology that we will have 2020, 2021, and so on and so forth. So the sector will radically change, as we have also discussed during this morning, with all this digitalization coming to all of us. One important factor for logistics is as well narrowband IoT, as it's really a game changer for logistics. It makes possible to track things and to get information about the status of objects for a really low cost, because these sensors can cost less than 10 euros, for example. They have extreme long duration of battery, which can last 5 or up to 10 years. And it connects directly to the telecommunication networks, like the LTE and in future to the 5G and GSM and so on. So you don't need, like in the case of RFID technology, you don't need gates reading antennas or something installed that is really expensive and really heavy to use in logistics. So narrowband IoT will be something that we will speak a lot about further on, I think, because it's really making things viable in logistics that we have never dreamed about to solve. Okay, so what is behind all this is a global infrastructure for Internet of Things, because obviously automotive industry would not be interested in a solution just for one country or for one continent. Our solutions, they need to work worldwide, and this is why we utilize our telecommunications ecosystem with the roaming, with the M2M partners all over the world to make this tracking viable wherever the cars go that you deliver. And I think this is something crucial, and this is why logistics in an industry like the automotive industry will have this kind of solutions available, like for example this solution as well. You can use it on a global scale, and this is something that is a must from my point of view. So let us go a little bit more in the detail of finished vehicle logistics, because this is the use case that we have been working intensely in with our little ecosystem and with many OEMs already. Well, we discussed also in the Idea Lab this morning that it's quite important to bear in mind that people who buy cars and their families, they really are looking forward to receiving this car. And so if we compare it to other sectors, the level of information and customer interaction in this finished vehicle logistics business can really be improved. Because if we look to Amazon, to the e-commerce sector, there's so much visibility, so much transparency, and so there's really a field of work that we should maybe attack and improve information level for our customers, which means better customer experience, better customer engagement, and if you want customer satisfaction go higher, in the times of digital age, we should inform our customers about the situation in the supply chain and when the car will be handed over to the customer. Well, also obviously when you compare the different technologies, and you use this kind of tools. This is the logistics trend radar. I don't know many people in logistics, they know it because we developed it for the first time 5 years ago. I was a consultant for the telecom working in logistics with DHL Innovation, and it was my suggestion to use this tool to work on the relevance of different technologies coming up for a large logistics provider like is DHL. So 5 years ago, for the first time, this document was elaborated in different workshops together. And this is the case of the last one, which was published 2 years ago, where we can already see the importance of Internet of Things. Now we can see it's already here. So this was kind of a prediction and an estimation about relevance of trends, and we can see the cloud logistics. Okay, this is a case of cloud logistics. On-demand delivery, okay, people, same-day delivery in e-commerce. So people want things and deliveries and information on demand, so it should be available for your customers. And even to anticipate if there is an incident or delays or so, it's important to make people know so they feel better and they will like you as a car provider much more. So my idea for this year's conference was as an ecosystem, sitting here, ecosystem of automotive logistic experts, that we could, for example, in the next month or so, organize something that we could elaborate together, a specific trend radar for automotive logistics. Because you have all the intelligence here in the crowd, and this is what we have until now is a general logistics trend radar. But we can have a specific automotive logistics trend radar. And I talked already to Ultima Media, so this can be published in your magazines and so on. If we do it, it will be published and accessible for anybody in the world. And it's quite interesting for people who are studying logistics as well. So I think we could do, this is something out of our ecosystem that we can organize and just let's go down to work and publish something new about automotive logistics. So yeah, you know it quite well. What is missing today is the VIN of the car location, but knowing exactly by VIN the car identity. So we can get it from here or also from blind-fitted telematics. They're using the data in some new way. You want to know, okay, what about the health of your car? You want to know the battery status. You're quite interested, okay, has there been any bumping, any damage? So you can all have this out of this solution. So I think it's really disruptive in some way if you compare it with the level of information that you have today. So in case of you want, for example, a more sophisticated logistics expert software, the data will come out of the solution, be on our platform and be delivered to the software of Inform Software as a specialist logistics, finished vehicle logistics software. So because via an interface, via API, it can be delivered into other established systems or systems that you introduce, maybe if you buy this specific logistics software. So here you can see, most of you will know this. This is the interface in the car where you plug the hardware in is a standard interface that the dealers also use for the diagnostics. And it's quite easy plug and play. And in case of necessity, it can be delivered with an extension cable as well. So I think it's a good example how you can obtain a digital twin of your supply chain. This is just an example, a little bit more of the fleet market, because the OEMs that collaborate with us and have done the POCs regrettably did not give the allowance to show view the maps, because everything would be possible to see it on different maps and on different examples and everything, but we don't have the allowance to show it. So this is more an example of the solution, because this is also used for fleets, for example, to track and to get some information, real-time data out of your fleets. So, well, the parts of the solution, the hardware with a SIM card, which send the data to the platform, and the information can be fed afterwards in the different software solutions or in the different systems. It can be used internally for you, for example, as logistics experts inside your automotive company. You can work in different departments with this information, and it can also be shared or sold to somebody who wants to work and develop further use cases and further business with this data. Well, so one very important aspect is that you can completely substitute these scan events, because right now I understand that your supply chain, every time an operator takes the car and so on, you have always the scan events. In this case, maybe combined with some identification systems for the drivers, you can absolutely make redundant the scan events, and this is a huge saving that you can achieve, because it's very manual and very expensive all this time scanning, 30 times or 40 times maybe in a supply chain. Well, and the interesting aspect as well, I think, is that so many stakeholders can get the information. So you can provide information to different logistics suppliers involved in the supply chain. You can inform the dealers and all the retail network who also want to participate in the customer dialogue. Of course, you can send communication to your buyers and fleet drivers and fleet managers, and of course some other stakeholders like the financiers and the transport insurance maybe are also interested in receiving that information. So it will become a little bit more like e-commerce, like a parcel that is delivered. It's just a car, it's not the typical small parcel, a big parcel in this case. But what we should really aim to attain is this level of transparency, visibility, and information in the supply chain. Obviously, you can use it as well for remarketed vehicles. So just one last slide about what's all in this idea, because it's not only about logistics. It's really an instrument if you want to get better customer data. It's helpful for sales, everything of content, of customer experience, customer engagement. If one day you sell your cars as well in the online channel, then you have all the information level that you need for the people in an online channel. You can obtain information of exact positioning on yards for your dealer yard management. You can improve the information on location and state of the vehicles for hub management. You have the scan avoidance. You can attribute some damages that occur. You have the battery status, of course, the real-time location, and much better visibility over your supply chain. So just some examples of our references in the telecom, because we have a big example of telematics. One big project is that we run the platform for online services of Daimler. So you have all the telematic services provided to more than 6 million cars in the world on that platform, which is global. So this is one of our customer projects, and there you can see that we are able to manage that volume of data. Some other examples, we collaborate with the BMW, providing connectivity to the cars to around 20 countries, which is also a very important facet of collaboration. And we developed the aftermarket solution for Mercedes, the Mercedes Me adapter, which is similar to this, a little bit smaller because there's no SIM card inside. So this kind of projects, maybe it shows a little bit our experience in this field. So we are very happy now to work intensively for automotive logistics as well, and hope to have interesting project with you and POCs to try this to obtain the visibility that you all want to have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronika. That was interesting to see how a technology company is adapting its products and services to provide services into this area, and an innovative approach in that respect as well. But also, I think, applying what new technologies you're developing as well to be able to adapt to this as well. I think we saw some of the examples of this from the smart cities and smart homes that we saw at the Telecom gallery tour just yesterday, and how some of those technologies can be adapted to fit into this world. So next up, I'd like to invite Torsten Heinrichs, who's Vehicle Manager, Vehicle Logistics Continent for Ford. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Neemish, for the introduction, and thank you, Veronika, for the very interesting presentation. Indeed, and I will make reference to that, to the trend radar that we have just seen. I don't think that we in vehicle logistics are that advanced like other areas in logistics. Yeah, and I think that is also made reference to the title that you gave to this panel, the finished vehicle sector's evolution towards a connected, smart, highly efficient, integrated ecosystem that is fully transparent. That's a very big subject, yeah, that for this panel, and truly is an evolution from where we are today. I clearly agree. Finished vehicle logistics, we are not the forefront when it comes to high-tech development. Usually we are followers, and I think that is what Veronika also explained, followers to other industries within logistics, like material logistics and mainly B2C logistics. Yeah, but let me start positively. Yeah, so if we step back for a while and look where we are operating today, I mean, the material guys are in other rooms, so we can't speak openly. Yeah, allegedly, finished vehicle logistics is a very simple business. We only ship vehicles from A to B, right? It's nothing more. In reality, I think the complexity of our business is increasing day over day. Yeah, there is increasing supply chains. There is more and more cross-continental shipments, not only for Ford, but also for other OEMs. Yeah, and I think the complexity of our business is underestimated by most people I talk to, including other logistics people. Yeah, if we take Germany as an example, yeah, either Germany as a market or Germany as a geography, including everything from nuts and bolts to engines and transmissions, we thought we do have around 550 suppliers or pickup locations that we collect material from for our production sites around the world, 450. Yeah, now you might think that that is a lot, but compared to vehicle logistics, it's not. Yeah, we do serve 650 delivery locations in Germany, so 200 more than we collect material from. Yeah, and even that is just half of the story, because 32% of these 650 delivery locations, they only get 100 units or less per year. Yeah, so if you consider that we ship from 10 and more different sources, yeah, if you take plants, ports, compounds, VHCs, I believe this is really a complexity that is not a small task to operate this network day over day. So it's quite an achievement, I think, to operate this network every day, including from our service providers, many of which are in this room today here. Yeah, now coming back to the subject of this panel. Yeah, and I echo what Veronika said. Yeah, we are operating in a highly complex environment, and we are not connected. Yeah, we are not integrated, and transparency is not sufficient. Yeah, the cost of doing business in this environment is significant. The resource requirement to operate this without being connected and integrated is very high. Yeah, as an example, I think we do know very well where our vehicles are today in the supply chain. Yeah, but currently the transparency that we get requires a lot of effort from all involved parties. Yeah, so I think that's the big difference to the technology that we have just seen. Yeah, again, on paper that sounds very simple. We get compound in and compound out messages for each of the supply chain segments that we operate, starting from where the vehicle leaves the production plant to when it is delivered to the dealer. Yeah, and as you may know, some of our supply chains are very complex, and there are quite a few segments that we need these messages for. Yeah, so in reality, carriers and service providers spend a lot of resource to provide these messages. Yeah, there are subcontractors of yours that return to their home base over the weekend just to provide the data over the weekend. Yeah, so there is a timing issue as well. Yeah, many of these messages are provided manually. Yeah, and then on top of all this, we do have an LLP that spends a lot of resource today to follow up missing or incorrect messages or cleansing data. At the same time, everybody in this room know, and I do know as well very well, there is significant headwind in the industry from fuel, bunker, driver shortage, equipment shortage, lack of compound space, and increasing regulation. All factors on which we have limited or no influence. Still, our customers demand that we become more efficient and precise every year. Yeah, I do know that further market tests and rate negotiations will not be sufficient to achieve the efficiencies that I need to deliver this year and in the business plan period. They will continue to be a tool to achieve this in areas where either we or industry market intelligence suggests that we are competitive, not competitive, but I think we need to increase our joint efforts to take waste out of the supply chain. Yeah, I think the question is less about price, it's more about efficiency. Yeah, building on what we've just seen and heard, embedded modems are starting to be being built in our vehicles, almost as we speak. Yeah, just now we are launching new Focus in St. Louis, and the product do have a embedded modem. Yeah, so the question is, how can we use the information that will become available from these to become more efficient? Yeah, we will be able to eliminate all the manual effort that I mentioned before. We will be able to provide timely and accurate status messages on where the vehicles are in the supply chain. We will continuously receive data on the vehicle health status as well. This will improve quality as well as safety. Yeah, if you take speeding on compounds, for instance, yeah, that is a safety and quality issue. Yeah, so this technology will enable us to provide accurate, real-time information on end-to-end vehicle delivery to identify and drive out variability and waste. Yeah, so the technology is in the cars now, and we need to find and develop the use cases, how to incorporate that in our processes and in our day-to-day work. Yeah, we are working with specialist companies like Inform and T-Systems. Yeah, in fact, we have just started a pilot with vehicles going to Ireland, and I would not have objected to show the maps, but we keep that for the next meeting to achieve this. Yeah, so hopefully these pilots will be successful and we will be able to roll this out to the rest of our business as well. Yeah, just imagine the amount of efficiency and opportunity if no manual updates will be required in all of our intercontinental supply chains that we currently operate. Yeah, so I truly believe that the winners will be the ones supporting us in achieving these improvements. taking waste out of the supply chain to improve the service that we provide to our ultimate customers. Yeah, so thank you for your attention. I'm really looking forward to a very interesting panel after Hartmut's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Torsten. That's really interesting to hear about some of the things you're actually working on and implementing today. I think this is part of the challenges. There's a lot of technology that's being developed, but how do we utilize that today? So, moving on to our next presenter, I'd like to welcome Hartmut to the stage from Inform to deliver his presentation.
Thank you, Neemish.
Very much.
Thank you, Neemish, for your kind introduction. Thanks to my two co-workers on the panel here for the nice presentations. And I will repeat only a small portion of it and then probably open new discussions on digitally driven ecosystems, more under the question, how can IT platforms help to collaborate? So I myself, I'm honest, I'm not a digital native. So when I hear the word ecosystem, I still envision something like this. So what does that have to do with our topic? So what we see is a system where many plants operate in the same space. There is water, which is protected by the plants so that the sun doesn't burn it too fast. And every plant depends on the result that the other plant produces. So that is, for me, still the first thought when thinking about ecosystems. So some ecosystems, and this is another example of a very well-known ecosystems, and I would like to draw your attention to the fact that ecosystems differ in regards to the question, how easy can you get out of that ecosystem? So if you're in and you want to move, is that possible, yes or no? And we will see that aspect later in the digital world as well. So this ecosystem is particularly difficult to overcome, while in automotive logistics, at least a pilot has been proven successful to leave that ecosystem. So when coming to the digital world, this is just an overview of a number of digital ecosystems. And if you look at them, like Facebook, YouTube, this is probably more closed. But there is also things like email, which is a very, very widespread ecosystem in itself. And everybody can interoperate various systems in that world. So this is a platform that makes it very easy for people to interact. And it's no secret that in automotive logistics, email is still a very important tool to communicate. So in my Inform time, I started to work for aviation industry. And in aviation industry, the communication is surprisingly well standardized. So there is standards since the 50s using telex systems, and sometimes they are still called telexes. And this is all standardized. The content is standardized, the field is standardized, the statuses are standardized. And when coming to the automotive world, I didn't find exactly that. Yeah? So there is lots of communications going on, various protocols, various fields meaning different things. So there is still room for standardization, I think, in the ecosystem, automotive logistics, which is not a huge ecosystem. So we should be in control of what we are developing in that ecosystem. So I will now come to some examples of platform, finished vehicle logistics. As I sometimes say, it's finished vehicles. It's not a parcel, so it's not just going A to B. There is various things that can happen in the chain, being it planned action like modifications, homologation, accessory fitting before delivering to the customer, but also returns that the dealer did not accept something or is rerouted. So there is ample activity that is going on in the supply chain and a lot of effort, as Veronika and especially Torsten pointed out, a lot of effort is going into the question today, where is the vehicle? And there is no common EDI standard to communicate about that. So the platform that Veronika introduced and that Torsten actually trials is collecting GPS information, sending that to a T-Systems centralized platform, and then our system focuses on visualizing that and making the comparison what was planned. Because the question, what is the actual status, this is now automated. So lots of resources get freed up to not think and put their effort in what is going on today, but freed up in thinking what should happen and work on that one. So there is many systems. Torsten mentioned that some vehicles already have that capability built in, so line fitted, and then there is various systems, and I'm sure we will see more systems coming up to track vehicles in this way. So this will reduce or eliminate the effort to determine where is the vehicle, and the people who are today working on that can concentrate on where should it be and what do we need to do to get it there. Yeah? This will mean a new way of working for those who are currently finding out the as-is status. I'm not worried that these people are not needed any longer. They are desperately needed in organizing the work. And here is an initiative when it comes to standardization. I would like to get you the green and the red cards in front of you and quickly make a quick poll on two questions. The first is, who is aware about an OEM ECG initiative that is working on standardizing communication on telematics? Your vote, please. Okay, cards are still moving. I would say, Neemish, 2/3 red. Yeah, probably 2/3 red. Okay, and maybe a second question for those who put up their green card. Who knows that your own company is actively participating in that initiative? Nice, nice, yes. So there is from our point of view, this is a very important initiative. To my knowledge, it's a first in the industry that OEMs and car carriers are sitting together, elaborating the best way to work between all parties involved. I know that similar initiatives are going on in the US with AIAG, and AIAG and ECG are exchanging on that. So I will not talk about the details of that. There is material and ECG that can be looked up. Please support that initiative. Please make sure that initiative becomes a success and a living ecosystem to make the life of everybody easier. Then a second example is, and sometimes it's not bad to look at others. This is more coming from the inbound side, also from automotive. This picture looks very dynamic. In fact, it's showing a queue of trucks. And queues of trucks in the inbound side on the plant has been an issue for quite some time in automotive plants. And from there, we know that various people are working on time slot booking and on apps to improve the flow of trucks to the plant. I won't go into detail here, but imagine that 3 different OEMs have 3 different ways of doing that, and the carriers and the truck driver have different apps and different ways of doing that. So if all the 3 decide to do that, then the carriers have quite a number of apps, or systems that are provided by the carriers need to be incorporated by the OEMs. The same picture applies vice versa. So there is a huge unconformity in this space. I found a very drastic picture. Yeah? I'm not saying this is the necessity that we are creating, yeah? But in a mental way, this is the world that we are moving to. Yeah? Everybody says, this is great, we need to have it, I have the best solution, take this, take that, can you provide that? No problem, it's only an app. Yeah, there is no problem, these are only just apps. Yeah, it's just about communication. Yeah? So at times, that may become cumbersome in the future. Yeah? And in some occasions, it already is. So yes, then we are coming to platforms. We are coming to platforms that are bundling data, but they go beyond that, bundle applications to services. IT people call that service-oriented architecture, and this is a practical example of that. So there is one phase to the participants, there is one authentication, and that enables you to do multiple things. And when these systems came up, of course, every party had his own systems, but what has developed over time, and this is a recent development with 3 OEMs in Germany, that they have agreed to go to the same platform to avoid that complexity. So this is an ongoing project that is to be implemented in autumn this year. So this is a reality which, say, 10 years ago, I don't think that the time would have been ready to implement something like that. Yeah? Everybody implements his own pilot. 10 years later, that has more become a commodity, and then people are moving on in that direction and says, yes, to the benefit for everybody, we are finding more centralized solution and going to platforms. Another example in that is the big topic of going paperless. Via a similar platform, services like eCMR, eDamage, and electronic proof of delivery can be generated, and proof of concept has been implemented between a compound providing the eCMR to carriers and an OEM to try out that small ecosystem. And obviously this is calling for more participants so that we go beyond sharing data, but also sharing applications and services. And that leads to sort of the vision of that we think that is an ecosystem, and we strongly believe this needs to be an open system. Open for everybody, so the APIs, the authentication, the interfaces are open for everybody. Everybody is invited to provide services via plugins, via interfaces. Fleetboard is an example. ETA is an example where this is already in place. Blockchain is an example which is probably more pointing at the future. Some discussions will go on this conference as well on blockchain. And with that, we have a system where this complexity is controlled and where the people collaborate. And I'm not saying there will be only one platform and that does everything. There will be another ecosystem in that place. So a number of platforms showing here being connected by the cloud should enable us to collaborate better in our ecosystem. So as a conclusion, these closed ecosystems are well protected and fast to develop. Yeah? The WhatsApps, the Facebooks of this world, this is very fast. You can act fast. You can do what you want. You're a closed shop. But interoperability, we believe, is key to ensure long-term sustainability. We strongly believe that such kind of IT platforms drive standardization, and that IT platforms help to leverage the best out of this standardization, which at the end of the day leads to a win-win situation for all participants of the ecosystem into a, let's say, fruitful future like shown on the very first picture. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Hartmut. That's another interesting presentation there, and interesting to see the different ways in which technology is being utilized these days as well. So we'd like to move into the Q&A part of this, the interactivity for this session. So feel free to ask questions. You're of course, we've got some experts here that are of course involved in this area and working on some specific projects. So if you have any questions, open up the floor for you. Please raise your hand and state your name and your company. And I think we've got a couple of questions over there. So we'll kick off in the back there.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Michael Pünning from BLG. First of all, thank you very much for the very interesting presentations. I especially thank Mr. Heinrichs for mentioning one of our major problems. And I also like to thank you, Hartmut, about the initiative of ECG and VDA, which we are working on in order to get digitalization things moving. One comment to the ECMR, which is from the technical point of view, I guess, ready to bring into practice. But especially in Germany, we are far away from that because we don't have any governmental regulations. So we have the EU Commission made a ECMR protocol, which was sent to all member states, and a couple of member states in Europe, they already ratified this CMR protocol and make it happen that we can do paperless transports, but not in Germany. And still our government is not convinced that this is absolutely necessary. And here we have to make a more pressure to our guys in Berlin. I'm also personally involved in that, had a discussion in the Minister of Justice, make them aware about the necessity, but there's another year gone, and now they are telling me that after 10 years, they are going again to ask the associations if this is now necessary or not. If we count in 10 years in the times of digitalization, okay, I guess something is very wrong. In terms of the truck driver shortage, which we are really facing, I think by all enthusiasm to digitalization, we should not forget our daily and our current problem, which is a lack of truck drivers and lack of locomotive drivers. I guess we are not making very clear that we also need in the future truck drivers. And I would like to ask everybody not trying to believe that in terms of digitalization, we don't need any truck drivers anymore. This is, from my point of view at least, I would say bullshit. We need them today. We have much too less truck drivers, and this creates problems in performance in our service behavior. And just to make everybody aware that this is our today's problem, and this has nothing to do with digitalization, I know, but this is our topic which we need to raise day by day because it's our bottleneck. Thank you.
Thank you. That's, of course, relevant comments there. Thank you very much for raising those. Of course, you know, we talk about technology, but equally so, you know, the people that operate and are involved in the business are equally as important, whether that's, you know, the people who are managing the projects and implementing the IT and managing the optimization of your networks to, you know, the people on the ground, you know, in the terminals, you know, working, driving the trucks, the locomotives. All those people are all part of the ecosystem, as you said before, right? Without those people, the ecosystem crumbles, right? So, you know, I guess it's how do we, you know, counter those problems while also then trying to continually innovate as well?
Yeah, maybe I can comment on that one, because yes, it was not the topic of this conference, but I believe that digitalization also can do something to simplify the life of truck drivers and to make the truck drivers' life more efficient. Yeah, so every time that I see a truck driver walking around in a compound collecting cars for an hour or two, yeah, I am asking myself the question, is this exactly the job that we want this gentleman or the very few ladies to do? Yeah? Can't we relieve them from doing that and save the time and the effort and the waiting time for the truck by working on let the truck driver do what he's supposed to do with it, which is loading, lashing, driving, yeah? And concentrate on that. So remove let's say, waste out of the system in that respect by making the truck driver, he's important, make him feel he's important. Others bring the cars to him, and he can fulfill his core task. Yeah? There is some digitalization to control that in a more efficient way, but that's an off-topic. And then the second aspect is that truck drivers, especially young truck drivers, are used and want to use digital means, and they want to use that to make their life more flexible, better plannable. So the communication between the driver and the dispatchers, I think, is key. Yeah? Where today drivers are driving for days in the nowhere, they want to be closer, and digitalization can help them in that, both to their families, but also to their dispatchers to say, I have an appointment on Tuesday evening, can I make that? Can we change the plan? And be dynamic on that one. Yeah? And so give them an improvement in their way of life. And I strongly believe that digitalization and communication and better planning tools can play a role in that space towards your question. Thank you.
I think, if I may comment, Neemish, I think I fully echo what Hartmut said. Yeah, and I think to Mr. Bünning, the driver shortage, I think, again, we in vehicle logistics, we are probably even worse off compared to the material logistics people, because the finished vehicle driver is a more difficult and a more painful job than material logistics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as the driver needs to load his own vehicles, yeah, and we can help him either by providing him the load or to make some publicity for your software tool that we are using, the compound management system, yeah, to make walking distance shorter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do know, obviously everybody here, the service providers including, you do work on efficiencies and productivity. And these guys, they often have very tight time windows. Yeah, they're only given, 20, 30 minutes to load a truck in Cologne, for instance. If that compound is not managed well, that time is not sufficient and it hurts them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if it's then raining and snowing on top, mm-hmm. That's not a job that I'd like to do, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I fully agree that is something that we need to jointly work on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. I think we have one more question there.
Jon Kuiper, Koopman Logistics Group. I have a question first to Veronika, or basically two statements. You were referring to the fact that dealers don't know when cars arrive, etc., which we all agree to and fully understand. And of course, if you order a package through UPS, you know where it is, and you know when it will arrive and when you need to be home, etc. And we also know that's the expectation that our dealers would have in the future of good IT systems. So my statement would be the data that you provide, unfortunately, don't give any logistics data. So on the question, where is my package or where is my car? The answer is it's floating somewhere in Germany, and we don't know what will happen with it. So that's, I think, is with respect in the logistics conference, the weakness of the solution that you present. And at the same time, I would say all these data are available in the logistics systems of the service providers, of which Koopman is one. We have the data, we have GPS location on the trucks, and we can tell you when the cars will arrive. Mm-hmm. So my plea would be, instead of spending energy on finding other potentially precious solutions, is to spend the energy in unlocking the data that all service providers have, mm-hmm. and do it together, Hartmut, as you said, in a common layer, an ecosystem that I fully support. And from that perspective, your talk was fully in line with what I think between service providers and OEM. We should create an ecosystem that captures all relevant data. So the connectivity data, so we want, but also the logistics data. And as you all know, or many people in the room might know, we are betting on blockchain, because blockchain will enable automatic transactions. So for example, you can take a huge amount of waste out of payment processes. There is a huge amount of waste, Torsten, as you mentioned, in the supply chain. And by using these new technologies, we believe, together in a joint ecosystem, we can take them out. Appreciate your comments.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you just...
Okay. I don't agree really with your point that the data are not logistics data. because the data you receive have a large impact in logistics. For example, if you you obtain the information about the battery status of the car, this is absolutely crucial, because if the battery goes too low, you won't ignite the motor of the car when you have the intention to move it onto a truck or something like this. So it is absolutely relevant to know, is the battery in a good shape? Or it's absolutely relevant to know if you have a premium car which should be shipped to the States, when it was already damaged somewhere inside Europe or Germany. Why should you ship that car to the US? If you know it's damaged, it shouldn't be shipped to the US. You need a substitution of this car, and to have intervention and to bring it to a repair shop facility. So I think in some way many things that the data will tell you are absolutely crucial and relevant for logistics decisions. I don't know, how do you see this?
No, absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, and I mentioned quality and safety as well. Yeah, I think I very much agree. Today, we wait for the battery to die before we take action. Yeah, and obviously that not only is waste, it also increases cost. Yeah, so that's having pre-warning, yeah, to do something before something goes wrong. That is really the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also, it's partly a challenge and it's also an opportunity. So in today's world, we can gather so much data, maybe more data than we actually need. So part of the challenge is to understand exactly what data we need that's going to help us, and where we apply that, how we make use of that in terms of damage, quality, transportation efficiency, etc. Right? So I guess the question is, what exactly, which parts of the data do you need? Where is it going to help you? And how do you then share that data, maybe potentially in a blockchain environment, to, of course, share that amongst the relevant parties of the ecosystem as well?
I think, for me, it's, as you say, I think there will be more data than we need. Yeah, but I think that is also, what do you do with the data? And that is an area where we and many others are investing into as well, which is data analytics. Yeah, I mean, there's two things. If something is moving as it's supposed to move, yeah, we call that the vehicle is on the happy path. Yeah, there is no action required. Yeah, but then if something goes wrong, there's two things. We need to react, yeah, to what has gone wrong and remediate that situation. But then B, you want to have that data in a larger scale to identify what are ongoing and repeated issues. Yeah, because that is where we need then to take action in redesigning the supply chain. Yeah, so it's not all the time the same data that you need, yeah, but it's different depending on the use case that you apply.
Yeah, and then how do you then take that data and start to become predictive with that data as well, right? So then you can predict patterns.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we should bear in mind that in future, with autonomous driving will be an enabling system that cars will deliver themselves without drivers in between. So what we are doing now is like pre-exercise and just training some facets of autonomous driving and of the data exchange that we will need in future, because it's obvious one day, and I know some OEMs, they really are already working on this, cars delivering themselves to the customers. So.
Yeah, I guess that's we can certainly have a conversation about that as well. But let me just ask Hartmut for his some of his comments as well.
Yeah, for me, this kind of data collection is also, let's say, bringing some new perspective. I completely agree with your point that this is data which is, let's say, let me call it theoretically available somewhere. Yeah, but what the huge opportunity of this telematics initiative is to standardize things. Yeah. So I think that through this standardization, plus through additional capabilities of technology, battery is one example, open window is another example, open trunk, closed doors, etc. Yeah, so that goes beyond the geolocation of the vehicle, and I think that this is a dry run, yeah, 4 steps, and there will be more steps in the future, and it's good to understand what is technologically feasible and what the use cases are and what the benefit is to all parties involved. Yeah? Because the more precise we can talk about that and we share that information, yeah, that for sharing it typically also needs to be in a platform or in one place where somebody governs it, who can see what, yeah, and the blockchain is a huge opportunity to do that. So I see this as a first step in a direction where more steps are to come.
Absolutely. So any other questions from the audience at this stage? No? So let's do a quick straw poll here. So who believes that autonomous driving will have a major impact on finished vehicle logistics? Just if you believe it's yes, then hold up your green. If you disagree, then hold up the red. 3 years.
We can share that nice picture. Yeah, there was lots of greens, and when it was 3 years, boom, yeah, the situation immediately changed.
Yeah, with
that
no
was very
disrespect
impressive.
to your age, and I'm talking to the gentleman only. I think everybody in this room does not need to be worried that they need to retire because we don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, and I think it's also environment-based, right? I mean, the use of autonomous cars is going to be used and can potentially be used today, right? What are your thoughts on the ability to do that in a controlled environment? Maybe not on the streets, because that's still a long way off and requires some more regulation, I think. But
I mean, as we've seen, yeah, adding a time frame to this, I think this is not what I would call the near. Yeah, I think for me that's medium, if not long-term, impact that we are going to see. Yeah, so we will continue to need trucks, trains, and vessels for quite some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were talking earlier about the electric vehicles supply chain. Mm-hmm. We had an ideas lab, and part of the discussion there was on, electric vehicles within the finished vehicle logistics supply chain and what we need to do in order to prepare ourselves for the increase in electric vehicles.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around how we prepare for that? What do you think and feel we need to do as an industry to prepare and be ready for the increase in volume, which no doubt will come sooner or later?
Yeah.
I think certainly there will be an impact on the infrastructure required. Yeah, I mean, we talked about batteries today, but these are the small batteries. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about electrification, we're talking different kinds of batteries. Still, they need to be maintained. Yeah, and we will need to have the data. What is the condition of the battery? Yeah, and then when it comes to VHCs, for instance, we have implemented VHCs across our main European markets, where we hold units centrally. The dealers can trade them. But they may stay there for quite some considerable time. Yeah, so, and I'm very much sure that we will need to have some kind of battery care process for these vehicles as well, different to what we have today. Yeah, so there will be some infrastructure requirements for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and this build-up of the infrastructure, I wouldn't say I find that worrying, but yes. Even in that space, there is not that one standard that everybody hopes to have. So there is multiple standards, and I would be surprised if all these charging problems would be dealt with locally. Yeah, you obviously need to manage your charging resources very well. yeah? But maybe for a part of the vehicles, if you have a certain SLA, this needs to leave with 70%. Maybe for a portion of the vehicles, it's fine to announce to the next compound, I'm sending you a vehicle with 60%, can you please bring it to 70%? So that utilization of this infrastructure beyond the local capacity, because that will, let's say, explode in certain occasions, yeah? And I see a distributed intelligence coming up on this battery charging management to make optimum use of the costly infrastructure. The charger itself is maybe not the problem, but the power cable, bringing that to a port, yeah, that's an undertaking in itself. Yeah? So there is a new kind of, let's say, capacity management that is needed in this charging infrastructure, and I would be surprised if this is not a distributed approach that leads to the best efficiency.
Okay. Yes, maybe all this e-mobility is a lot about network, I think, because it's a completely network-based concept, because the mutual dependency, infrastructure loading and so on, in electric cars automatically needs to be an intelligent car and a connected car and on a platform. Mm-hmm. So this exchange of information is essential to have them operational on the streets and in the supply chain. So it's really a good example for an ecosystem, as we have shown before, some other examples.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other comments about electric vehicles and what we need to do? I know we had some interesting discussions about what's happening at the ports and the terminals and what they need to do. Anyone care to make any comments about this? No? Oh, there's somebody at the back there.
My name is Ruud Vossenbelt from Inform. I have a question for Torsten Heinrichs. When I discuss with OEMs, I hear that they are still searching for how the charging of the car needs to take place, or especially for the battery. Should it happen just before the factory, in the compound, and also where in the further supply chain should additional charging need to happen for electric cars? Do you have any answer as Ford on that?
To be honest, no, I don't. Yeah, I know that we do have issues with our very small batteries that we currently have in the vehicles, because they're not fully charged when they leave the plant. Yeah, which is leading to issues within the supply chain, yeah, that we have drained batteries that need to be charged, exchanged. But I currently do not have any information on how that's going to work on electric vehicles.
Okay, no problem. I'd like to just circle this back to what Michael was saying earlier, and just in terms of some of the drivers for standardisation or how we move this forward, right? Because of course you've had challenges of getting this through as a regulation from the government, right? So I guess the question is, do we need government to say this is a regulation, you need to do this? Or as an industry, should we be saying this is the smartest thing that we should do, so let's just do it? Okay, so let's do a quick straw poll. Do you think that it needs to be regulation, or do you think it needs to be an industry-driven initiative? Red if you think it's government, and green if you think it should be industry.
No bias. No bias.
All right. So what do you think? Industry?
2/3 green.
2/3 green. So industry.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is then, how do we come together as an industry and drive the adaptation of this? What needs to be done? Why is it not being done? Mm-hmm. Let me put it to the panel and to the audience.
I appreciate the question and the further discussion about that, but I guess it will not work because we need a governmental regulation, because otherwise transport companies are not safe in terms of damages or something like that. If a damage problem goes to court, then and they have no paperwork, they have a problem. They have a serious problem, and we are not transporting a package with a value of €5, but we are transporting cars up to 100,000 euros. And if you have a claim in this respect and this size, you have to be on the safe side. And safe side is, at least in Germany, only with governmental regulations. Sorry. And again, we need to convince, as the industry, the political parties to ratify this protocol and to make this happen, that we can also use or that we can also organize paperless transports in Germany, which is not only for Germany themselves, but also for transit. And Germany is by far the biggest country, transit country in Europe. And just a simple example for all of you. So the ratification in Denmark and the Netherlands is done. They are allowing this and no problem. But if you have an international transport from Denmark to the Netherlands, you have to pass Germany and then again paper.
Okay, thanks for that. Any comments on that?
No, I fully agree, and I wasn't sure whether I understood correctly. I think there's two things. There's the standardization that we want to have in terms of exchanging data. Yeah, I think that for me is something that we can leave to ourselves. Okay. But ECMR, I fully agree, it needs to be regulated.
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of standardization of data and things like that, what can we start to do as an industry to make this happen?
Well, I think that is happening already. Yeah, I think there was mention of the group that is working on ECG today. Yeah, there is VDA forums working on that. Yeah, so I think that's underway already.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Something that is sometimes very impressive and very successful in the IT industry is to create a demonstrator. So nobody officially allowed to do that. It's sometimes called submarine. So the first step is just do it, but in order to play it safe, yes, you need the paperwork as a backup, yeah, but you prepare and you demonstrate, and you also have first advantages of using this electronic CMR process already, while keeping the official paper process in the back in case needed, yeah. But certain processes can already be moved to the electronic path today. So that is then a powerful, let's say, demonstration, yeah, to people who have to decide whether they accept that yes or no, to say, okay, we are not accepting something that may eventually come or may eventually not, but you prove it, you do it, and you keep the rest as a backup. So you are in an excellent position the day that the decision comes, you drop the paper and you're fine to go, yeah, because I'm personally convinced that it's only a question of when that decision will come. Yeah? We are working on that to make it faster, but I'm not doubting that this decision will come. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Any other comments, questions from the audience? No. Okay. Well, let's. I think we've reached our time for the session, so. I'd like to thank, firstly, the panel for joining us today, making some presentations. So thank you very much. I found it very interesting. There are evaluation forms on your table, so please do fill them out. We really appreciate your thoughts and your comments and your evaluation of what the event is, what's happening at the event, so we can, of course, improve. But thank you very much. Thanks to the panel. You did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. So we'll be back here.